Hello everybody, this is Matt from New Game Plus, here to give you an in-depth look into Shantae, Half-Genie Hero. Recently pitched via Kickstarter, this new crowdfunded entry follows the adventures of Shantae, a half-genie, half-human guardian of Scuttletown, as she explores Sequin Land in an action-adventure platformer. The developers WayForward have recently sent out codes to Kickstarter backers that contain the demo build that will be at E3 this year and features 3 different levels, which we'll be showing you today. Now, right here we see Shantae. She's in a jungle environment. This first level of 3 is more concerned with verticality, so you are jumping on top of things, climbing onto things, which we'll show you a little bit about later. But the first thing you'll notice, for those that did play one of WayForward's previous games, DuckTales Remastered, is that the game assumes an aesthetic that's very similar to that. So you have the very crisp, very detailed and animated 2D sprites, mixed with a really colourful and richly detailed 3D backgrounds. And they work incredibly well, especially the water. So with those enemies, the mermaids in particular, those mermaids unfortunately are a bit of a hassle. They actually do interact with the environment a lot better than previous Shantae games, where in Shantae Risky's Revenge they would just jump into a puddle, whereas with these ones they actually jump in the water and out of the water that you see in the foreground and background, which I think is an incredibly awesome touch. So we're going to jump up a little bit more. Unfortunately, human Shantae isn't very good at jumping, so we're going to assume the form of the monkey, which is well known to those that have played previous Shantae games. You guys will feel right at home as soon as you assume its form. So the monkey form is really good because unlike Shantae's human form, in a monkey form she's able to scale walls, climb most of them, and is able to jump a fair amount higher than she can normally jump in her human form, which is really good for a level like this, which is designed to purely encourage you to jump, climb a little bit higher, and allow you to find secret areas as well as pots full of gems. Now, the gems in these games, in the demo build in particular, unfortunately they don't really have much significance because you're just collecting them and you can't really cash them in. But generally in a lot of Shantae games, gems are generally known to be used as purchasing upgrades as well as temporary consumable items like health potions, magic potions, very similar in the vein of something like Castlevania, where you do utilize consumable items to increase your magic meter, or as well as your health meter as well if you're getting a bit down. So I've just got scaling a few moving platforms here and there, just grabbing a bunch of secret gems. My obsessive compulsive self knows no bounds when it comes to amassing gems and finding every single jar, because every single time you find a jar, you always got to break it. So using Shantae's monkey form to kind of scale the walls a bit, not exactly knowing where I'm going at the moment, just kind of getting a feel of the controls. At this point I kind of realized that the game is very, very tight. The platforming just feels really good, and I can't wait to actually play a lot more of it. And the monkey form was just some of the best fun I've had in a Shantae game in a long while. With the monkey form though, you are unable to attack, so you are jumping in and out of the monkey form and into the human form to attack certain enemies here and there. In this demo build, Shantae in her monkey form can actually explore nooks and crannies, but unfortunately in this build there really wasn't that many. As you can see here, I was trying to jump into that little slot the snakes were coming from. But there are very little secret areas. It's very kind of linear format, which makes sense considering this is an E3 build, and the people that want to go check out this game, they don't want to be at the stall all day. So it's good to have these like real bite-sized, like 5-minute levels. And right on cue, the first level is finished, and then we jump into the second one. Now, this desert environment is not concerned that much about verticality like in the previous jungle level, but more so about timing. So later on in the level, you are pretty much set against the complete opposite way of a sandstorm, and that pushes you back as Shantae. You aren't able to do anything like that. If you're in your crab form, if you're in your human form, you're going to get pushed all the way back. So the name of the game here is to time your movements as quickly as possible to get you behind a ledge so that the sandstorm doesn't push you back further, as you'll see here. And Shantae's hair whip isn't just good for dispatching enemies as well as defending herself. She can also use it to interact and move objects around her vicinity, which is really, really cool. So as you can see here, this is the second form that you can assume in the game, aside from the monkey, which is the crab form. You can't freely choose between them, which I think is some quirk of the E3 demo build, like in previous games. In Shantae Risky's Revenge, you are able to decide between 3 different forms once you get them as power-ups. Eventually, later in the game, you get to, move and cycle between 3 of them. But in this one, you only have the one form at the one time. As you can see here, timing is definitely of the essence, and I'm still trying to get to terms with timing because I am getting hit a fair amount. And as well as, just dealing with a lot of the bullet hell type enemies that just throw attacks everywhere. They're not concerned about accuracy. As long as they shoot something out and hit you, then they're happy. They're more of the spray and pray type. Now, these enemies in particular I had a bit of trouble with. These ones that you have to continually attack in order to knock them down. And a lot of these enemies up the top, they try to anti-air you, so they basically just try and keep you grounded as much as possible. As you can see, I'm trying to grab these jars and they're a little bit out of reach, so I try my hardest, and eventually I was like, you know what, just don't worry about it. Cut my losses, go down using the crab form. The crab form is a little bit more restricting than previous underwater forms in Shantae. In certain other games, you can assume a mermaid-like form, which enables her to attack and move at much faster speeds. But the crab form in particular is a little more timing based. You really need to it's a bit more floatier, a little more restricting, considering you can't attack, or at least in the E3 demo build form. So I'm just here collecting gems just because I can, and pretty much just missed the platform at the top. So the basis here is there is an abundance of enemies, and you pretty much just need to make sure that your hurt box does not touch them at all. And that was a very close call. Didn't want to take my chances grabbing that last gem, and I just thought, you know what, let's go up. Since I've got half a life left, I don't want to take any chances. Speaking of which, hearts are also... you can't actually expand them in this game, but in previous Shantae games, you are able to expand on them and collect them. Very similar to something like Legend of Zelda, which is cool for those who aren't exactly confident with spacing, like myself, who does get hit a lot and always wants that extra bit of insurance. So as you can see right now, we are dealing with the sandstorm. We need to make sure that our timing is just right so that we can get behind certain pillars as well as objects, and then just pretty much use them as cover and shelter. Another interesting mechanic as well, or little feature in the game, is if you can see the quicksand there, you can also use that as a really good stopping point for when the sandstorm comes. You can pretty much just bunny hop on top of it, and you'll just stay put. That way you don't do like I do, what I was doing just then, and just completely lose a lot of ground. And I really want those gems, so I'll go pick them up. Unfortunately, I lose that heart because the sandstorm. I got a little bit too greedy there, but I'll use this quicksand to just stay in place, make sure I'm close enough to that pillar, and that way I'm nice and safe. Now these enemies in particular, these tall enemies, can be dispatched in 2 different ways. So as you can see there, you can go the complete brute force way, and if you're just left alone with one of them, you can just keep hitting them until they're defeated. And another way as well, for those who are a bit more speedrunner savvy, that want to just get out of the way and not deal with the repercussions of defeating those long enemies, is to pretty much just hit them low enough so you can jump over them, and then that's that. So it's good for those who want to tailor to the playstyle of if they want to speedrun and just want to get over, finish a level as quickly as possible, or for those that want to grind and get as many gems as they possibly can within a level, so they can, perform and purchase more upgrades as well as consumable items. Now I do spend a fair amount of time here because the trick here is to dispatch the enemy up there, which unfortunately I cannot reach through the quicksand, which I need to pretty much just vault all the way up there and hit him the old-fashioned way. And then you need to jump over. But I was getting a bit too greedy, a bit too flashy in trying to actually get over him as well as get over the ledge. But unfortunately, there's not enough time for it, because if you do misstep one jump, like I did just then, that costs you the entire few seconds. So you really need to make sure that you get your mark right. This is like probably the most precise part in the game, or at least in the E3 build, as far as I'm concerned. I spent the majority of my time in this one location. There we go, just had enough just to get over. And as you can see, Jar's up there, and you know the old rule is to smash them because they've got loot in them. There we go, and right at that point I thought, I'm getting a little bit tired of hitting those things over and over again, so I'll just jump over it. Hit it just enough so I can jump over it, vault over it like I mentioned before, and that's that. And that signifies the end of the second level, and the last level is a little bit different compared to what you'd expect with, especially Shantae, but not so much with platformers. This is familiar for those with, that are concerned and love platformers. This level, the last level, assumes the role of an auto-scroller, very similar to stuff like the minecart sequences in Donkey Kong Country, where you need to jump various ledges and caverns, all the while dodging perilous obstacles like gators throwing things at you. So this is more concerned with, as I said before, it's probably an expansion of the second level where timing is of the essence, and you can get away with, you know, a few hits here and there, but if you jump off the ledge, it's game over and you go straight back to the start again. Another thing as well is that the game encourages you to fine-tune your jumps, your timing, as well as general finesse, and that encourages you with getting extra gems along the way. So you can see them, if you leap right at the last minute and get a little bit risky, you can earn a lot more gems than you normally would. And if you just scrape on by, then you get no bonuses. Do a few bunny hops here and there to collect those gems, get as much as I can, get myself a sweet pike ball at the end of this, maybe a health potion or two. But it's going to be interesting how this format works out, considering like when you actually get KO'd, you don't lose health, you lose the entire sequence and you've got to do it all over again. So it's going to be interesting to see if Shantae takes the format of the previous games where you get a game over, or you get another life all over again. But it's going to be interesting to see. That is the end of the level, and that is the end of the demo of Shantae Half-Genie Hero. So for more gaming news, reviews, and coverage, be sure to subscribe here at youtube.com/NewGamePlusTV. And for those at E3 this year for 2015, hopefully you get to take a look at Shantae and enjoy the demo. Thank you very much.